The all-decade team for the 2010s announced this Monday morning by the NFL and Pro Football Hall of Fame. Von Miller and Chris Harris Jr., the Broncos on that list. Miller, one of 8 unanimous selections. Phil Milani here alongside Aric, DiLalla. Aric, from a Broncos perspective, maybe there should have been a couple of more names on this list. We'll get to snubs that we feel like are there, maybe at the quarterback position, at defensive end, and at cornerback. Aric, let's dive in here. Does Peyton Manning belong on this list?
I think Broncos fans are probably like, where is Peyton on here? But if you go a little deeper, I think it does make sense that Tom Brady, a unanimous selection, and Aaron Rodgers are the quarterbacks. Peyton played 5 seasons and did have that incredible 2013 season when he threw for 55 touchdowns, won the MVP, brought the Broncos to the Super Bowl 48. But if you just look at Rodgers' sustained success over the past decade, I think that's what gives him an edge. He had 305 touchdowns to Manning's 173, 7 Pro Bowls to Manning's 4, 2 MVPs to Manning's 1. About the only place Peyton has the edge is in total Super Bowl appearances.
Yeah, you think back to that 2013 season when he won MVP, just so dominant there, but only played half the decade compared to Aaron Rodgers, who's had that sustained success. And obviously, Tom Brady is a slam dunk. So I think that the voters got it right. Obviously, Pro Football Hall of Fame voters, 48-member class voting on this over the past couple of weeks. I think they got that one right. And I thought they got all of the offense pretty much spot on there, Aric. But moving to the defensive side of the ball, really felt like DeMarcus Ware should be a part of this class.
Yeah, and this is a tough one, Phil, because if you want to slot DeMarcus in at that linebacker position where Von Miller is, then you've got to take out a guy like Chandler Jones, who has a ton of sacks, a guy like Khalil Mack, who we know has that game-changing ability, won a Defensive Player of the Year award. And then if you want to slot him in a defensive end, do you take out J.J. Watt or is it Julius Peppers? And I think Peppers is probably where Ware has the best argument. He has more Pro Bowls than Julius Peppers. He only has 4.5 fewer sacks over the decade. And Peppers did play a couple more seasons. And so to me, Ware maybe deserves that spot a little bit more.
Yeah, and Ware also had a more dominant season, 19 and a half sacks in 2011. Julius Peppers doesn't come close to that number there. So maybe you would give Ware the edge, did it in fewer seasons. Plus, he had the Super Bowl victory there in Super Bowl 50. Maybe voters didn't consider team success when weighing their options here. But seems like DeMarcus Ware, just overall, maybe a better player in the decade. Not to knock Julius Peppers or anything, but just when you're comparing those two players head-to-head, seems like maybe Ware has the advantage. And then finally, Aric, not sure, looked at this list a couple of times, did not see Aqib Talib on there.
He's not on there, Phil. You can stop looking. I think the cornerback position, Phil, is maybe the toughest one to crack here. You've got Patrick Peterson, Darrelle Revis, Richard Sherman. Revis is kind of the guy that maybe Talib could take his spot. It's just so hard to quantify what Revis did because he doesn't have the numbers that Talib did. Talib has 26 picks in the decade, 10 for interceptions for touchdowns. Revis, 15 interceptions, only 1 touchdown. So we're kind of having to base this, Phil, off quarterbacks staying away from Revis.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Revis didn't have the opportunity to make those huge game-changing plays. But, yeah, Aric, Aqib Talib, 11 more interceptions over the decade, plus 10 returned for touchdowns compared to Revis, who just returned 1 for a touchdown. So, it feels like just numbers-wise, on paper, Aqib Talib belongs on this team.
Yeah, and Revis does have the edge in first-team All-Pros by a pretty substantial margin. And something to consider too, Phil, is with all the time he spent with the Jets, he's facing Tom Brady, who, is obviously very highly valued on this list. And so maybe they kind of look at that as the level of competition is higher there in terms of having to face Tom a couple times a season. I don't know, just kind of spitballing how the committee might have thought through this.
Yeah, and then there were two other positions for a sort of a hybrid defensive back role. That's how Chris Harris Jr. and Tyrann Mathieu made the team. Guys who really did a lot of their work in the slot, maybe also played a little bit of safety as well. So that's how those two guys made the team over a guy like Aqib Talib. And yeah, obviously a hard list to crack, and understand why the voters made their decisions. This isn't to knock any of these guys. It's just naturally, from a Broncos perspective, you would think maybe after the decade they had, maybe more than just two guys on this list.
Yeah, Phil, you could probably fill in most of this whole team with Broncos if you tried hard enough.
Yeah, exactly. Keep working the numbers and you can make anything sound good.
Right.
All right, so that's the 2010s all-decade team. Congratulations to Von Miller and Chris Harris Jr. for making that list. Just a couple of guys here with their own thoughts. For Aric, DiLalla, I'm Phil Milani.